everybody. Ann Vandersteel with American Made Foundation. I really need your support. Our organization is fighting the beast system of child protective services. We are fighting it on a number of fronts, including the state of Massachusetts, the state of Florida, the state of North Carolina, and others. We have cases that we're putting into state and federal lawsuits. And in addition to that, we're also writing legislation for several states. We have submitted our legislation to Senator Don Gates' office. He is the president of the Florida State Senate. We're working with his team and others around the country right now to eliminate Department of Children and Families, or CPS as it's known in various agencies around the country. That funding is coming out of your tax dollars, but we need your help, tax-free help, to actually combat this beast system. So please go to AmericanMadeFoundation.org, where you can make a tax-free donation to help us fight the beast system. We've done documentaries on it. You'll find it at our website as well. Go ahead, head on over to AmericanMadeFoundation.org, click on the donate button, and watch our latest movie, Taken, State-Sanctioned Kidnapping, while you're there. Get enlightened as to how bad this process is. It's all about basically depriving you of your familial due process rights. God bless you and God bless America.
If your custody case did not go how you wanted it to go, can you try to get the other side criminally charged? So the only way you can take the other parent to criminal court is if they get arrested by the police. You can call the police on the other parent for things like abuse, drug abuse, or neglect. And it may help to have evidence to back up what you are saying. However, if the police aren't doing anything and you have credible concerns, then you can file with CPS. Now, while we know CPS isn't always the most reliable source, it is always another line of defense when trying to hold the other side accountable. When it comes to CPS, though, mothers usually do have a better chance with them than the fathers do. But again, if you have credible concerns and especially evidence to back it up, it may be worth a shot either way. Regardless, keep an eye out for inappropriate behavior, get evidence when you can, and always keep it on file for when you may need it for police, CPS, anyone like that.
I used to work for Child Protective Services. They are known as DPS in Arizona now. If they come to the door and you invite them in, they then can open an investigative report, and that becomes a legal document that goes to the judge, and the judge will decide what happens to your children. If they come to the door, say, do you have a warrant? Do you have any kind of documents from the judge? No. Slam the door on their face. They are a vampire. If you invite them in, they have power. If you slam the door, they can't do anything and eventually have to close the case.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Steel News. I'm Ann Vandersteel. Today, we're going to be going into one of the most darkest protected corners of the American system, the family courts. We're not talking about criminal court, not civil court, family court. Some of you may know this, unfortunately, and probably a lot of people if you've been through divorce. But juvenile court, this is another terrible system. Dependency court, guardianship court. These are all courts that remind you you are wards of the state. These are the places where your children, your parents, your medical decisions, your mental health, your estate, and your God-given rights can be stripped from you behind closed doors, often with little transparency, little accountability, and almost no meaningful recourse. Most Americans actually have no idea how this system works until it's too late. A parent walks into a court believing the truth will matter. They believe evidence will matter. They believe due process will matter. They believe a judge will protect the family. Then suddenly they're told they are unstable. They're non-compliant, mentally ill, a danger, unfit, incompetent. And once that label is attached, the machinery begins. Court-ordered treatment, forced psychiatric evaluations, psychotropic medications, supervised visitation, foster placement, group homes, guardianship, termination of your parental rights. Then comes adoption, billing, contracts, federal funding, NGO involvement, medical contractors, court-appointed attorneys, evaluators, case managers, therapists, foster agencies, adoption pipelines. Everybody gets paid. But the family? Well, sadly, the family gets destroyed. Today's show centers on the case of Geovanna Holton out of Pima County, Arizona. Her case raises explosive allegations, coerced drugging, denial of an ADA accommodation, denial of kinship placement, denial of due process, and the use of court-ordered psychiatric treatment to weaken a mother while the system moved against her parental rights. We're not here to try this case in the court of public opinion, by the way. We're actually here to examine the documents, the patterns, the incentives, and the human cost of a system that far too many families have become predatory. My guest today, lovely, lovely lady, is Malinda Sherwyn. She is an Arizona court watcher, a disability rights advocate, and family court reform voice who has been monitoring these systems and cases for more than 30 years. Malinda has followed juvenile court, CPS, DCS proceedings, ADA accommodation issues, guardianship concerns, and family court abuses. She has attempted to help parents understand and assert their rights inside a system that too often punishes them for asking questions. Today, we ask the question many are afraid to ask. Is the family court system broken, or is it functioning exactly as designed? Malinda Sherwyn is an Arizona-based court watcher. She's a disability rights advocate and a court reform advocate who has monitored family court, juvenile court, and these CPS, DCS proceedings and disability accommodation issues for more than these 3 decades. She has focused on cases where families allege denial of due process, denial of ADA rights, forced medication, misuse of psychiatric labels, denial of kinship placement, and the weaponization of court proceedings against parents and vulnerable adults. And in the Geovanna Holton matter, Malinda appears as an advocate who attempted to assist Geovanna with ADA accommodations in the Pima County juvenile court case. The uploaded records that we're going to show you later on include an ADA notice of reasonable accommodation requesting that Geovanna be allowed an advocate of her choice in court and the DCS proceedings. We're going to go through all of this and more. You're going to hear the story of forced psychotropic medications, denial of kinship placement, and the fact that she was denied her ADA rights. Malinda's work is rooted in the belief that family court secrecy has enabled a hidden economy around child removal, foster placement, guardianship, psychiatric treatment, adoption, and the destruction of families. Malinda, it is great to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining me. This is an extremely important show, and I want the world to understand just how dark and devious this family court system is. But because of angels like you and credible experts like yourself, we're going to be able to show people what's actually happening, what has, what they can actually do to sort of get around it, but why your role is so incredibly important in this whole infrastructure. Because frankly, you're the only advocate out there that they're going to have that's going to be on their side. So if you don't mind, Malinda, for people meeting you for the first time, could you just describe the work that you do?
I grew up in California. So I had a friend who was a DV victim, and she lost her children, and she had to be under a guard when she came to visit her children on monitored visitation. There was a man with a wand and a gun and watching her. And I thought, whoa, I'm gonna go. It was hard to believe. I'm gonna go to the court and find out what's happening. I got there early, so I sat through several cases, and I was blown away by what happens in family law courts. There is, if someone reports abuse, there is an immediate suspicion of ulterior motives on the part of the mother, the protective mother, or the protective father. Mm-hmm. I know that there are groups that align themselves with women and with men. It's not a gender issue. It is an abuse issue. If you're in a family law, say a divorce case, and it's going on for 10 years,
right?
18 months, if it goes beyond 18 months and after the divorce takes place, if someone comes back and wants to change visitation or custody or child support, somebody is getting abused. If you're in the courts, for 5 years after the final judgment, someone is being abused. My teacher was a woman by the name of Connie Valentine. I went up to her place in Davis, California, and she had a library with 3-inch white binders in floor to ceiling. And I was looking through it, and then I saw something that was SRA. And I said, I'm here for domestic violence. Do I have to learn that? And she said, yes, Malinda, it is the source of all of our problems. And SRA is satanic ritual abuse of children. And it would
is that what really kind of woke you up and said, I have got to get involved? Was this sort of the first expose, your first realization that there was something deeply wrong inside
yes,
our country, but probably even the family court or juvenile court system, if you know
yes,
they've labeled this?
yes, it is. It's a conveyor belt, a money for money. The financial incentives are so great that people are used to doing anything and everything that they can do to get a hold of a body. We used to make beautiful things in the United States. We were taxed to death on those things, but the powers that be, the administrative state, they were happy with that because they were making money on taxes. They discovered in the 70s, things shifted. They discovered human trafficking and that you can do it through the courts.
Right.
There's a big, people are very focused on border crossings of children into the interior of the country. Those 500,000 children are just a drop in the bucket compared to the children who have been trafficked, and young adults and elders through the family law court system. That's dependency, probate, and family law. And now we've got Title 36 in Arizona, which drugs everyone. And I met Geovanna through her father, who was the grandfather of her baby. And she, after I met her and talked to her, I spoke to some psychologist friends of mine in California. She was given oxycodone right after the cesarean birth of her baby.
I want to get to Geovanna in a second, but I want people to understand court watching, exactly what that means, because this is an important piece. People wonder, how do you have access to all this information? Tell us about your certification as an ADA, what that is, and what a court watcher is, and what you actually do as a court watcher.
All right. Well, you go into the courtroom and you can bring in people if the courts are open. California understands open courts and Americans with Disabilities Act advocates. Court watching is where you go in very quietly. I would hand out pens and yellow legal pads, and people would write down what they saw and they heard. And then after whatever the hearing was, we would sit down and talk with each other and compare notes. And we do that in Arizona too. We go into the courts, we sit there quietly. You don't even look sideways at the jury. If you do, the judge will throw you out of the courtroom. You just have to sit there and very quietly document what happens in the courtroom.
So you're just documenting. Is there anything you're looking for specifically when you're sitting in the courtroom?
Patterns of practice. I can tell you, somebody can come up to me and say, well, I'm in the court. I lost my child. They came, the school called DCS, and there are patterns of practice. DCS, CPS, they make an allegation, and an allegation is not a fact. But they use that first allegation, whatever it is. So-and-so took cocaine, had cocaine in her system when the baby was born.
But there's no evidence of it.
There's
no
absolutely no
blood test.
evidence.
Okay, it's hearsay.
Yeah, layers and layers of hearsay.
Okay.
And so you document everything, and we've learned that when a DCS worker gets on the stand, that mostly they're just lying, and they're not held to any standard. They can just perjure themselves from here until the end of the case.
So why is it important then for just ordinary citizens? You don't have to have any certifications, but just an ordinary anybody can go in, mom, dad, sister, uncle, whatever, just to go in and sit in these courtrooms and document what happens.
Well, it changes the dynamic in the courtroom. It's not that it changes, people are being watched. Like when I go in as a court watcher or an advocate, I always have another advocate to fill in, because they give you admonitions. They'll say, you may not talk about anybody in this courtroom, or the children or the family or anyone in this courtroom. And I just sit back. I say what Sean McMillan says. He's a civil rights attorney. And he says, he got an order from a judge in Arizona that people who are in these courthouses are government workers. Their courts are paid by the federal government, and they have no they're not entitled to privacy for what they do. So I tell them that. And I say, I will not take your admonition. What if you make a ruling that causes a child to die? Because it does happen.
Yeah.
And I'm in courtrooms where judges have made orders that resulted in the deaths of children.
So as horrific as this is, there is a role for the ADA. Explain what the ADA is. And you have focused very heavily on ADA accommodations. So why do ADA?
Everybody I work with, I work with soldiers, returning soldiers who have brain injuries, memory loss, severe PTSD. But all of the women and men that I work with have this court-induced PTSD. They can be in the courts when you have a CPS case, you're in court every single month, and that's how the courts make money. They have a hearing every single month for something, for like 15 months, until they've established that you have not met the 15-month ground, and it goes from first dependency in the CPS courts, the dependency to reunification to termination. And that can take 15 months if you've got a child over 4. If you have a child under 3, all that happens within 6 months. You lose your kid forever.
Wow. So the ADA rights, the American with Disabilities Act, these rights matter a lot more in juvenile court, CPS court, guardianship court, and family court. Why? Is it because of the PTSD that people go in, they can't function, they don't know what to think, what to do?
Well, I don't know, were you there during the time that Mr. Payton, I think Maureen listened to Mr. Payton. He's a 78-year-old man in the dependency court. And then my friend Renee, who has an 85-year-old father, who is in the dependency court, who is in the probate court. And Renee has hearing problems and real PTSD from this constant. I mean, she's a law-abiding citizen. She has never done anything wrong in her life. They have attacked her. They've accused her of all kinds of terrible things. She had her father that they accused her of abusing, had 14 face-to-face meetings with Adult Protective Services. They cleared her completely. And today, she hasn't seen her father except for 10 minutes in 5 years.
Wow.
And Mr. Payton,
Terrific.
Mr. Payton has a wife that he fell and broke his hip, and the probate courts became aware of it, and he put his wife on a plane, a private plane, and moved to Texas, to Lubbock, Texas, which he loves, and put her in a nursing home to get away from the probate courts here.
Wow.
Same people that are attacking Renee and her 85-year-old father are attacking Mr. Payton. They're all the same characters.
Sure. So let's talk about the repeat offenders, because there's patterns that exist out there. We're seeing them in American-made action and the work that we've been doing between our C3 and our C4. So tell me about the patterns, Malinda, that you've seen repeat over and over again across Arizona Family Court, Juvenile Court, and DCS cases. And just so the audience understands here, comprehends, frankly, these patterns repeat in all 50 states. This is not just immune to Arizona, or this is not just special to Arizona. This happens everywhere. Nobody gets out of this. So talk to us about these patterns between these different courts, juvenile and DCA and family and guardianship, for that matter.
Well, it's all the same process.
Mm-hmm.
There is a false allegation, excuse me. There is a false allegation made against a party. You can be a safe, fit mother. You know Melissa Deagle. She didn't have, she never even got a parking ticket in her life. And all the people that I work with have absolutely no priors of any kind. But they're accused of, on very thin reeds of evidence or no evidence of all, of abuse and neglect. And there is nothing specific. No one in the dependency court, in the foster care agencies, will give you any kind of specific information. And federal law says before you come to the house, before there's a face-to-face with a caseworker, they have to let you know what you're being accused of. They never do that. They just check boxes, abuse and neglect. For the probate and the probate cases, it's exploitation. Renee in Mr. Lang's case was accused by a notorious lawyer of Ms. Banker of running up a $12 difference in a Costco bill that she was reimbursed for. But in the meantime, they've taken a $10 million estate. Right. And there are 10 people getting paid between $450,000 and $600,000 an hour to
I'm sorry, $450 and $600 an hour.
Yeah, and there's several people on the case, and they bill. Wow. Renee's father told her, and she was his trusted trustee and durable power of attorney, and she has all of those documents that her father, when he was in a good frame of mind, he was capable, and he was cognizant, and he was of sound mind at the time when he spent $20,000-$30,000 setting up all of his papers. Now, I met you at the Ahern, and I spoke to some people there at the bar years ago. And
Right.
I said, you could get, you could have a very good relationship with your mother. She could be independent driving. You could take a trip to Florida from Arizona, and you talk to her every day on your vacation, and she's not answering the phone. So you call the neighbors check, she's not answering. You call the police as you're going to the airport.
Yeah.
No, they have nothing on her. You get home, you try to get into the house is locked. You get somebody to come and open the door, and on the refrigerator is a little sign. It says, "Hello, I am Mrs. Smith's guardian. If you have any questions, give me a call." Yeah, like, where
Nobody
is
reached
my,
out to the family members. There was
yeah,
nothing posted anywhere. She's just gone.
she's gone.
Yeah.
And the house is up for sale.
Yeah.
It takes 15 minutes to walk into a court, and takes 15 minutes to walk into a court and scratch out an entire $30,000 estate plan. People, and that you'll hear it on the radio. "Oh, you want to avoid probate? Come to us. We'll take care of you."
Right.
I've called those people up and said, "What do you do about the probate courts?" And
Yeah.
then click, they don't listen. They
So
don't
these
want to
courts
talk.
really, they operate with little impunity and little public scrutiny. So, uh, how do they get away with it?
Well, there's a committee finally in the legislature that has teeth. It consists of,
In the Arizona state
in
legislature.
Arizona,
And I have Rachel Keschel. I have Rachel
Yes.
Keschel from the Arizona state legislature on Thursday, and we're going to
Oh my
dig
God,
deeper into
that's
this.
so great.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
her. She is absolute. She's been
Well,
working with us
she has
for
taken this
years.
on and embraced this entire corruption, and she wants to fix the problem. She wants to fix
Right.
this entire family court system. So I'm excited to do that interview, but
So
go
let
on.
me tell you,
Yeah.
their committee of John Gillette, Rachel, Walt Blackman, who is the chair, and Lisa Fink are there is an investigation. John Gillette is ex-military. You have to have him on too. He's brilliant. He went through we were handing him contracts to hospitals, to Children's Hospital. There's money going between Children's Hospital. There are these gigantic transport contracts where a kid is born in Tucson, and they live up in they place them up in Four Corners. It's a 16-hour round trip. It's a $2,400 bill every week to the taxpayers just for transporting foster kids. There is a 150 going on $60 million database called The Guardian.
Oof.
That stores information, case records, but parents, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
What's
And
it really
so
designed to do, Malinda?
it's designed to not, well, there is a real flaw in it. All the parents I work with don't have computers. They don't have copiers. They don't have scanners. And so they use my computer. And if they have to fight, they come over to my house and we work together. They do everything on their phones. They're geniuses. I don't know how you can do these, but everything, the way they communicate with DCS in Arizona is on their phones. Now, this Guardian computer does not record texts or messages or text messages or phone calls or emails. They can't, the parents, when they want disclosure, when they're being terminated, they're saying, "Wait a minute, I want my evidence that you have."
Sure.
So another quote from Sean is that if it's not documented and you don't have access to it, it didn't happen.
Right. It's true.
I mean, and so when there's been since 2021 to today, there have been 12,715,000 children terminated from their parents have been terminated. They will never see their parents again.
From 2021 till today,
Yes.
so 5
Yes.
years.
Yeah.
12,000 children in
It's
Arizona.
not even today. It's not even today. It is from July 30th of 2025, because I haven't gotten the other numbers. I get all these numbers from DCS, from their
Okay.
website. So 12,715 children without the ability to get their records so they can defend themselves. I'd say that's a big problem.
That's a
And
huge
what I
problem.
want, and what I want is to hand this over to Rachel and John Gillette and have them go on that. What they have done is there was a hearing about the group homes in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And Gillette gave a report. The price per head per child to be in a congregate care home is $64,375 per bed.
That's insane.
And every time a child is moved to another group home, that money, that 64,375 is charged again to us, to the taxpayers.
So in other words, if that child is moved 2 or 3 times for the year, you're getting charged 64 times 2 or 3, depending on how often he's moved, or she.
Yes, and I testified with parents whose children went through the system.
Yeah.
Many of them are dead. I have they were moved 20 times. It's a
That
money.
message,
It puts Michigan to shame. You know, Michigan.
Yeah, Malinda,
Michigan
the
was
message
getting money.
The message you're getting here is it's incentivized to keep the children apart from the family, and that the children's lives don't matter, and that nobody wants them. When you are constantly moving a child, you're manufacturing the need for the child to move. It's just a profit center, and the child is the one who suffers, and the family, the original family. I want to dive into this case that you're in the middle of right now, because this is, I think, pretty significant. It's the Geovanna Holton case. And I want to, get into a little bit more specifics here with you, because the case that we're going to be discussing today is an illustrative example of what we're talking about. Geovanna Holton, who's in the Pima County juvenile court case. We have reviewed documents, and we're going to put them up on a screen here. These documents include a proposed letter to Congressman Eli Crane requesting congressional oversight into court-ordered psychotropic medication, forced drugging, denial of kinship placement, and alleged ADA violations. This packet that you've sent me, Malinda, also includes an ADA notice of reasonable accommodation signed by Geovanna Holton, requesting an advocate of her choice during court and DCS proceedings. So let's walk through this very carefully, Malinda, because it's very significant, this particular case. How did you first become involved in Geovanna Holton's case?
Well, Rachel calls me, and she'll say, can you please help these people? So I get called from the legislature, from various legislators who in their districts have these people that need to be cared for because they're in trauma. Mm-hmm. My first ADA victim was her father, Mr. Janosko. And he introduced me to Geovanna. Mr. Janosko was her father. He intervened in the case. He had already had he was already approved for adoption. He adopted his nephew in 2009. So he went through the system, and he had this daughter who was given opioids right after her C-section. These are devout Christians. She realized that her father told the doctors, don't give her that, give her Motrin or something.
Mm-hmm.
And but they sent her home with a giant bottle of of oxycodone, and she was instantly addicted to it. And I think that was how that drug was designed, to instantly hook people. And it's very costly, and they would send giant bottles home with people. I've seen these bottles; they're insane.
So Melinda, the documents actually allege that she was taken to the Sonora Behavioral Health and then subjected to 4 psychiatric medication. What do you understand happened there? Because she got addicted, not because she chose to be. She just had an addictive, her body chemistry became addicted to opioids postpartum for
Yes,
pain relief. And then they're deeming her basically, non-compos mentis. She's sent away to a behavioral psychiatric center. So what really happened there?
She went in, and she was told, "Come on in. We'll help you with the opiate." She said, "I have been withdrawing from.
Mhm.
I've been self-withdrawing for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, she was self-withdrawing from opioids. She couldn't
Mhm.
stop. So she got into Sonora. They And I have this document. It says that she was denied a recovery coach. She wanted to get off of opioids. That's why she went. And
Mhm.
so they never got a baseline on her. What they did, and I was reading through the documents. I have 2,500 pages of her medical record, and I was reading through it, and she had something called a B52. So I called
Okay.
my nurse friend, another victim of mine, Shirley Requard, and she told me what a B52. It is a combination of very powerful atypical antipsychotics, and it knocks people out. But what they did was they fabricated this lie about her, that she got aggressive and she tried to jump over the nurse's station. Well, she just had a C-section. So she wasn't going to, that was a total lie, but they fabricate things so that they can get that needle in her arm. They took her into she said, "I don't want any more medications." So they fabricated this incident. They put her in her bed. They smothered her with a pillow. When she came up for air, they threw drugs in her throat, down her throat, and then hit her with this B52. She was unconscious for 3 days. Her husband, her baby, her father, and her caseworker could not see her. They were kept away from her. So she
Wow.
could have, I mean, she was so overwhelmed by the pills and the B52 that they could not wake her for 3 solid days. So they kind
Wow.
of put her into a coma. And this has continued on. It has
That's
continued
so
on.
so for people who don't know what a B52 cocktail is, what is commonly understood to mean in psychiatry? What does that mean in the psychiatric circles, a B52? Because it sounds like you're getting bombed.
It's like a thing that they do between shift changes,
Mm-hmm.
so they don't have to deal with people.
So they just
It's
knock you out.
Yeah,
They just knock you
they knock you out, and then they make up a story, especially when somebody does not want the drugs that are funding everything.
Mm-hmm.
These I've seen bills. I'll find the bills and then I'll send them to you. They're thousands of dollars a month. And they're thousands of dollars a month. So she continued on for 4 years of drugging. And the always the issue was, you take the drugs, you are court ordered to take the drugs. If you don't take them, you will lose your child immediately. That's the choice. So she's trying to manage DCS, visitations with her son, when these mothers are drugged. And I have another case almost exactly like hers, Ashley. When a mother or a father is drugged and they have to meet the standards and all the tasks that DCS sets for them, they have to have a job, they have to have their own apartment, they can't have roommates, they can't live with family, they have to have their own apartment.
Right.
And then they have to go to visitation, and they have to go to classes. So sometimes the classes are set up during work
hours.
times. Yeah, exactly. Everything is created to just sabotage the parents, so that when they have to come to the final hearing, they lose their child forever.
So,
and it happens across all titles now. Family law, everybody is diagnosed and drugged. The children the children act out, they're freaked out, they're missing their parents, they can't tie them down, so they use drug restraints. The children are drugged.
So let's talk about the physical manifestations, because you've now know this woman. What changed in Geovanna physically, mentally, and emotionally after these toxic medications began? This was a picture of her before she was dragged into the system.
Look at that beautiful little heart-shaped face.
She's absolutely precious. She's absolutely precious. This is who she became after.
Yes, right.
I mean, it doesn't even look like the same person.
It doesn't. This was a day she came over. We were preparing. She and her father came over, and we were preparing for court. So what happened was that she was given these, there's a drug called risperidol, and then the new iteration of that drug is called Invega. And what it does is it raises something called prolactin levels in your body. Women become more masculine, and boys and men become more feminine. I knew a boy in Los Angeles who was on risperidol. He had a third breast in the middle of his chest, and it was lactating. I'm sorry to make you sick, but this is what's happening to people. So she had horrible, and when she would come, she could, that last picture, she can't stand still. She's shaking, she's moving. I have videos of her asking doctors. I asked her psychiatrist, is this drug injury or is it psychosis? He said, I don't know. He didn't know. So the pain in her head, she had a horrible pain. And I said, what about this pain in her head and her prolactin levels? He says, well, we've got to check the prolactin. Hers, it's supposed to be like 2.3. It was 166.
Oh my God.
She stopped her periods. Her jaw squared. I met her after she was drugged, after she had been drugged for 4 years. And then lost her child.
I mean, the letter is very clear. It says she was placed on lithium, Haldol, Risperdal, Depakote, Invega injections.
Invega, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is going to sound almost like a ridiculous question, but clearly there must have been some serious concerns about this drugging regimen. By anybody? Was anybody besides you? I mean, not you. Was anybody else concerned about the drugging regimen for this young lady?
I'm telling you that is the plan. is
But
to
she got a
have,
pituitary tumor. An MRI revealed
yes,
she has a
a
pituitary
7
tumor.
millimeter. Yes, she has a 7 millimeter pituitary tumor. And I know 3 women who have these tumors, and
Okay.
they've all had atypical antipsychotics, and it's it's heinous. And you know, your friend from Able Child,
Yeah. Sheila.
and
Sheila Gallo, fabulous.
so what happens is that they get on COT. That's Title 36. It's now in
Yeah.
all titles in Arizona. All you have to do is, if you want an old man who or an old lady who has a lot of money, and you can a hack psychiatrist from a nursing home, a mental health center, or contracted with anyone, can write this phrase: this person is a danger to himself and others, or herself and others. That's the red button. And
Yeah.
then you're locked into the system until you get out of the drug court. And
Until you get out.
that leads to really weird behavior, to it heightens. Risperidol can make a 90-year-old man go crazy sexually. A 90-year-old man who is just out of his mind, unable to control his sexual impulses.
Wow.
They're so dangerous, and they're so pervasive. And every one of the patterns of practice in all of these courts is that these people are always accused of having a mental disorder of some kind, or a personality disorder of some kind.
Directly attributed to these drugs, right?
Yes.
So what happened to her ability to participate in her own case once she was medicated, Malinda? Was she competent? Was she able to participate?
No, she was anybody if I had a drug load like that, I wouldn't be able to get out of bed. A lot of these people are very strong and young, and they can handle it for a while, but it totally wears them down. You see the expression on her face.
What was she ever giving an opportunity to appear drug-free, clear-minded, and fully heard by the court? Was she ever able to get off anything so she could participate in the process?
Never, because if she
So was this
didn't take,
condition used against her then?
yes, absolutely. She would miss sometimes visitation because of the pain in her head and her
Mhm.
body. And she said, I feel like I'm in a fishbowl all of the time.
Mm.
I feel like I'm dead.
So do you think that the system treated the alleged medical or mental health issue, the condition, I should say, do you think they used that condition to justify taking her child? Has that been fully
Of
documented?
course, absolutely. And they use and the mental institution, she went from one mental institution to the next, to the next, to the next. And they would, and she would say, I'd say, well, how did you get out of them? She said,
Mhm.
I would take the drugs. I would agree to it. And then they would let me go. But then something would happen, and she would be picked up either by the police, or she was not herself, and she couldn't function well. It's designed. It's
Yeah.
absolutely designed. And so I believe that, in combination with the not being able to get your records, because Dean Janosko, her father,
Mhm.
when they finally took the baby, when they finally took the baby in 2021, April of 2021, he was born in 2019. In
Mhm.
April of 2019, he was 2. He was standing by the car with with the car seat, with the baby bottles, with the baby food, and all of his toys. And he was an upstanding citizen, has a lovely home, a very well-established family in a legacy family here in Tucson, and 2 great grandparents and just a wonderful family. I've met them all. And Dean he also raised a child who was mentally, he had a mental disorder from birth. I think he was oxygen deprived, but he raised him. He's 40 years old, and the family learned about how to love and care for someone because of Christopher, the brother, her brother. And he was a safe, fit grandparent. And I have so many grandparents who were there, standing, wanting to take that child, and they were just, they pretended that they didn't exist. He went to every hearing. He drove her to every hearing, every medical appointment, and he cared for the baby when she was in the hospitals, in all these hospitals. The baby grew up with him.
We see this over and over and over again. Our organization, American Made Action, right now is involved in the case of the little boy whose mother was killed by ICE. His father died 2 years earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yes.
the mother was killed. And the little boy, his next of kin is his grandfather, the father's father. And
they want to transition that kid, right?
They want to transition that little boy, and the lover of his mother, the other lady, Rebecca Good,
the one who encouraged it all.
The one who, it seemingly, looked like on video she was coaxing her into that, terrible position. But, that case is ongoing right now. And this is the fight. So I want to shift here a little bit to the next segment here, which is one of the most important pieces in the packet that you sent me, is the ADA notice of reasonable accommodations, because it asks for an advocate of Geovanna's choice to participate in all court proceedings, court activities, and DCS proceedings. That matters because due process is not real if a person is so impaired, traumatized, medicated, or overwhelmed that they cannot meaningfully participate. So, Malinda, walk us through the ADA notice, who prepared it, who signed it, and what accommodation was actually requested.
I helped her prepare it. And so we used my computer, and all of these documents came from my computer because she didn't have one. Mm-hmm. So I sat here with her father and her. And what I learned about ADA advocacy in California from a woman by the name of Karen Huffer. And she was selling certificates, but the certificates are meaningless, really. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is read Title II and see what qualifies a person for ADA advocacy. And of course, I mean, this woman was incapacitated by the orders of the court and DCS pressure on her to follow the orders of the court and take all these antipsychotics.
Which were making her psychotic.
Yeah, exactly. She's also a very devout Christian. So her praying to God, were used by DCS. They said that she was hyper religiosity, and that she had demonic features. Those were DCS's words. Because she was praying to God to help her when they were doing this to her.
So this ADA request, was this request from her about disrupting the court, or was it about making sure that Geovanna could understand and participate?
Yes. She was not able, because the courtroom was full of hostiles. She couldn't get her evidence on the record. She really couldn't speak. She had a pretty darn good attorney, as attorneys go, but it doesn't matter whether you have an attorney, whether you are super qualified, that whether you can speak or not. You're not allowed to place exculpatory evidence on the record. They're not interested in it. They're only interested in what they've said about you. So when I work with as an ADA advocate, I ask all the victims, what do you want the court to know?
Right.
So that we can sit down, I can help her organize her papers, organize a bullet point list of things that she can refer to during the hearing, because people are traumatized. They can't think, they get a dry mouth. They either have just overproductive speech, or they're like the deer in a headlight.
Right.
You know, they can't speak because they can't even form a sentence because they're so traumatized. And so I sit there with my hand on their backs, and I will point to issues that they have told me that they want the judge to know. And so I just point to those things. And it's amazing how putting your hand on the back of someone can help them in a courtroom. They threw me out of that courtroom. And the same thing for Dean. They would not let me be with her. They would not allow ADA advocacy. And for her father, who cannot even speak about what happened to him and what people did to him without crying. He can't talk about losing his grandson without breaking down in tears. Yeah, right there. We hand delivered that.
So tell us what happened, because it included that handwritten note indicating that the ADA notice was intended for Commissioner Jane Butler for your eyes only under Title II. What happened after that notice was delivered?
It was
and
not.
It says it was hand delivered, but it was returned unopened to Dean Janasco.
Yeah, it was returned to her father's address, which was the address of record for his daughter.
But I mean, they're supposed to receive it. It was supposed to be open. It looked like it was unopened. So what should a court do when it receives an ADA accommodation request then? And I mean, obviously not return it back to where the father. It should have been acted upon. No?
Well, I scold judges, or commissioners are not judges. They're just lousy lawyers in robes. And so I explained to the presiding judge, Butler, Michael Butler, no relation to Jane Butler, that, hey, ADA advocacy is federal law. It is not discretionary, Your Honor. It is a federal mandate, and it is actionable. All this stuff is going to go to whomever is on the weaponization of the government against the people at the DOJ. That's where it's going.
Great. So let's talk about that, because I want to know what the due process implications are when a disabled, impaired, traumatized, or medicated parent is denied an advocate or an accommodation.
I have a stack of ADA complaints, but every time I called during all of my years, I've never gotten a response, but I think I will now. If Ed Martin is involved, I've been talking to Jeff Clark, who is absolutely wonderful on Twitter.
Yep.
And there is a man by the name of Anthony Corchain, who is the U.S. Attorney for Arizona. So I kept calling and calling. They wouldn't listen to me. And they told me, what you have to do is go up the chain of command to a government, somebody in the government, somebody powerful. So I said to Rachel, will you send this to Anthony Corchain? She said, well, why don't we give it to Eli Crane, who is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So do you know him? He's wonderful.
Met him briefly.
He's a congressman.
Yes. Met him briefly in DC at a General Flynn event at the Gold Institute. Yeah, right. He was there for something.
So I've been waiting for people in the government, in the legislature, in the Congress to respond to us, because they don't respond to us. I've been writing for 30 years. We've written to every congressman, every state representative, every state senator, every US congressman, every US senator. We never get a response.
That's just disgusting. Because here you have somebody, Geovanna Holton, whose ADA rights were totally not respected. The denial of her ADA accommodations clearly has affected the outcome of this case, has it not?
Absolutely.
So what
Absolutely.
should Congressman Eli Crane, the DOJ Civil Rights Division, or federal investigators be asking about this case? What should they be asking about?
They should say, hey, first of all, the Arizona and Missouri, the DOJ has investigated them even during the Biden administration for violations of ADA accommodations for people who are disabled. So California learned, because the ADA law just wiped out California. They were paying millions of dollars for violations of ADA violations. And it's not just about ramps. And when I call people, the ADA administrators in the courts in Arizona, they say, well, what do you need? A ramp or a hearing card or a wheelchair? And I'm like, no, these people have PTSD. I need to be in the court with them, with my hand in the middle of their back. If a judge is well educated, they will understand immediately and let me in. If they're not, they throw me out.
That's right. That's right.
And it's usually like in her case, there was this awful, vicious assistant attorney general, Miss Forsch, who would close down the hearing every time I went in. And when they were denying her father, when she was terminated, they denied her. Her father went in and asked for custody of his grandson, and this Forsch woman threw me out of the court too. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it is disgusting. And this goes on across the board. And I want to move into the bigger picture here, because there is a bigger picture going on, something that I think is of significance that we need to talk about it broadly, because it doesn't just stop with juvenile courts. We see similar patterns in, CPS, DCF, the adult guardianship, probate, mental health courts, nursing homes, group homes. These same themes appear again and again. Declaration of incompetency, loss of rights, court-appointed professionals, forced treatment, isolation from family, asset control, which is a big one, child control, body control, and money flowing through a system. So how does the CPS and DCF, Child Protective Services, and Department of Children and Department of Children's Services system connect with the broader family court system, Malinda? And how does DCF and other states mirror what you've already seen in Arizona? You and I think, first met over a serious case of the Melissa Deagle case, excuse me.
Yes. So they just destroyed her life.
Oh my God.
Her children's lives.
Yeah.
I hope I'll start crying. So
I know it was a horrific case, and that woman could not have been more put together. I've never seen anybody more organized. I wish she'd come organize my life. Her cases in 3-ring binders, several of them tabbed with CDs. And there wasn't one piece of paper.
I have copies of those. I have
binders
of those.
Yeah. Incredible. I've never seen anybody organize anything. And I think I'm pretty organized, but I'm like, get her over here. I need her to organize my life. But this is somebody who went through a horrific system for 10 years. And finally, she won a restraining order against the state of Arizona. And she's living in Colorado now.
I wouldn't call it winning. Well, her daughters.
Winning is the wrong word. She finally managed to block them.
She was being sentenced. It was during a sentencing hearing. And the attorneys for the victims would always say, her attorneys would say, we'd like to hear from the victims. And then her attorneys would say, they don't want to talk to her. And then all of a sudden you hear, oh, yes, we do.
Yeah.
And she broke down during her sentencing hearing. And the judge allowed her oldest daughter and her younger daughter to speak for over 30 minutes. 10 minutes, I think it was 5 minutes for the younger one, because she didn't have as much memory. And the older one spoke for 20 minutes. And she said, Mom, and we're handing tissues, and all of her friends are there, and her husband, and the daughter says, Mom, I listened to what you said, and you warned me about the abuses that could happen. And everything happened and more. And she just, and she broke down. And the judge said, put a restraining order on the probation department, put a restraining order on DCS, and told them, you butt out. If these girls want to live with their mother, if they want to speak with their mother, if they want to be with their mother in any capacity, they have every right. Do not interfere in their relationships with this mother again. And so as soon as we went through all the paperwork, she was on the phone. She got on the phone with the girls for 24 hours. They talked for 24 hours, I think, all night and all to the next day.
That was just the most insane, horrific case. And that was one of the earlier cases that I remember doing interviews 10 years ago. And I just couldn't believe what I was learning. I couldn't believe this must be there must be, you trust a system. You think the system is good. In the last 10 years, we've all learned a lot that you can't, if anybody should say it out loud, is anybody who's ever been through family law court, never trust anything the government ever says or does, because they're not here for your best interests. And so I want to talk about the role of guardians ad litem, court appointed attorneys, therapists, evaluators, and case managers. If you were to summarize it in one sentence, what is the role all these individuals play?
Third party appointed hacks.
Okay, fair enough. Designed to keep the family separated.
Right.
Are they just part of the machinery to siphon money out of the system?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're there. They're not
Guardianship,
accountable. They have immunity, and they think they have immunity, but I don't think it's going to last very long, because my friend Michael Moore, who testified at the legislature, said judicial immunity is a judge-created doctrine. It doesn't appear in the Constitution, and it can be remedied by good legislation. I say impeachments. I want impeachments. I know judges in Tucson and Phoenix who have been directly related, have been involved in the deaths of children.
How does guardianship abuse resemble CPS abuse?
Exactly. It's the same process. They,
well, maybe break it down more granularly. How are the elderly or the disabled adults?
They make an accusation. They
Okay.
isolate the ward, make him a ward. In Renee's case, Mr. Lang, they isolated him from her. They browbeat him and brainwashed him against her and said all these terrible things about her. In the meantime, she was the one who cared for him. She took him to all of his appointments. She did everything for her father and her mother. He was her stepfather and her mother. And he trusted her. So what happens is that there is a general allegation and a suspicion thrown on the person who is in charge. And in her case, and in Mr. Payton's case, there is a group of attorneys who work at the public defender's office. And they will, and in her case, this lawyer, Yvette Banker, represented her brother, who was a criminal. And she was his lawyer. And he was a DV perp. He violated orders of protection. He didn't pay his taxes. He didn't pay his child support. He was behind on everything. And he had a brain injury because he was in a motorcycle accident and had a brain injury. He was not able to care for her father. And her father found out that he was a criminal because when he had the brain injury, father had a petition and had guardianship over him. And then he learned all about his son. So Miss Banker is working out of the public defender's office. She's requisitioned. She starts interviewing him, takes him back to her, stops working at the public defender's office, goes to her private office in Scottsdale and opens a petition on his dad.
Jesus.
And starts billing and starts criminalizing Renee.
So tell us about the federal funding streams that incentivize the removal and the placement and the treatment and the ongoing state control in this entire, what I call a RICO criminal operation, because it's the family courts that oversee CPS, DCF, juvenile court, guardianship. So it's become a RICO syndicate, frankly.
Right.
Tell us about the federal money that comes into this.
Okay, well, federal money comes, it supports the courts. Okay.
Right.
So these probate courts are insane. They have their own investigative wing. Judges are not supposed to be investigating. They're not.
Right. They're supposed to be evaluating the evidence put forth in front of them.
Right. Remember that case of the pregnant woman who was killed by her husband, and that the jury and the judge went to look at the boat? It was Scott Peterson case.
Oh, yes.
And that's where I learned that you're not supposed to investigate, if you're a judge, your case outside of what's in front. The only power a judge has is a court case in front of him. So the process is the same as in the dependency court. An accusation is made. They said that after they came to the house, he was outside trimming his palm tree, and a guy comes up and says, "I'm your new attorney." And there was a secret hearing, and that's what they do in the family law courts. It's like a rule something hearing, and they all get together ex parte. The targeted people don't know. Then they call something. They call a hearing, and they call it a status conference, and it's not a status conference. It is an evidentiary hearing that separates and at the end of that evidentiary hearing, even though the lawyers and Mr. Lang's lawyer and his daughter thought it was going to be a status conference that they could that would prepare them for a hearing so that they could be heard, it wasn't. It was what Renee calls an ambush hearing, and that's a legal term, an ambush hearing, when you're not prepared, and when they're in this ambush hearing, her father was separated from her. He was separated from his attorney. And they didn't even give proper notice to the attorney. They sent the documents to the wrong name and address, Miss Banker.
Wow.
And so
and yet there's nobody's ever held accountable for any of that. And they don't want to be, and the system protects them so they don't have to be, because there's so much money. So transparency is a giant threat to the system because there's records that matter the most. Something, your billing records, right? The medication logs in the instance of this story we're talking about today. Placement contracts, because as you talked about, children get placed over and over again because in Arizona, it's $64,000 per bed. And if they go to a new place, it's another 64 grand and so on and so
Every
forth.
time they move a child,
Right.
there is this if it's in congregate care. And
Right.
all the time, it might be just $2,500 or $3,000 that would repair the problem that brought the parent into the situation in the first place. It's like, missed dental appointment.
Sure.
Your
Sure.
cases, it's like they didn't take a vitamin K shot. Really?
Right. In the Rivera case. So when I call it a RICO syndicate, but
It is.
what elements make it look like a possible RICO enterprise? Is it the coordination, the funding, the repeated patterns we see? Is it the private contractors, the fake records? Is it the financial benefit that they get because they keep moving children? I mean, what in your opinion makes this look like a RICO syndicate?
Well, it's we have trouble getting data on anything because when you ask, it's like, oh, it's private. We have to protect the ward of the court. Well, I have attorneys who argue against that, but what they do is they're all getting money. They're all making the same charges. They're saying that there's domestic violence, or there is exploitation, or there is mental illness. And all of those things lead to they want everyone to have a psychological evaluation. And these are very small groups of people. They all work together. Everybody knows each other. The judges, the third party appointees, the lawyers, they have bag lunches together in the courtrooms. They're all buddies. They all know each other. They all take care of each other. So I'm really interested in having the defense office in Maricopa County investigated, so that we can find out there's this one man by the name of Toit who's got several cases that people I know are he's targeting all these people, and he's saying he's taking them under guardianship, and he's their boss. This man, Mr. Toit, here's an example. Mr. Payton has his wife in a nursing home in Lubbock, Texas, who love her, and he sees her every day. And he pays $2,500 a month for the nursing home. Mr. Toit pays that each month. He gets $8,000 a month for writing a $2,500 check to a nursing home in Lubbock, Texas. I don't think he has any jurisdiction at all.
No.
But we have the document. I'll show you these things.
I don't doubt you, and I'd love to see them. But this is the grift in the system. So let's talk about the NGOs, because NGOs, I mean, these are nonprofit organizations. They do play a role in the child welfare and the family court ecosystem. Are all NGOs bad actors, Malinda, or is the issue lack of oversight and perverse incentives in this NGO merry-go-round, shall we say?
For example, Catholic Community Services. They don't only deal with border children. They are an adoption agency. They adopt children to known identified pedophiles. And there's the case of Devaney. I don't know if I've ever talked to you about Devaney. I use that name because I use her name Devaney because it's in the news, and her adoptive parents changed her name. So it's a 5-year-old. She was a 3-year-old sent to Mr. Frodsham's house in Sierra Vista. He worked at Fort Huachuca. He had a foster care. Contract with CPS. Then it changed to DCS. He was kicked out of the military in Afghanistan for raping little boys. So that's the kind of due diligence.
Yeah, oversight and due diligence.
That Minors Council, that DCS, that all these people did nothing. They just placed every kid they could with Mr. Frodsham. He was busted. He was busted by the FBI and ICE after the mother of Devaney kept calling because she would come to visitation. And she seemed to have, she had a urinary tract infection. For a 2.5, 3-year-old child to have a urinary tract infection for 8 months is a big red flag.
Yes, it is.
And so the grandmother came out and she had to deal with the Minors Council. Grandmother came from Oklahoma to take the child because she knew she was being molested. Her daughter let her know all the symptoms. So she moved from Oklahoma to here to take the child, and they wouldn't give her the child. The Minors Council, the psychologist, it was a woman from Easter Seals here, did a bonding assessment with the mother. When the child had to leave the mother, she was crying and she was hysterical to leave her mother. Always when she had to leave to go back to this nightmare that she was living. So that is a standard. You hire a third-party psychologist. And I was just talking to a psychologist the other day who was doing an evaluation on a safe, fit, loving mother. And who has she's got doctor's reports, school reports, everything was fine. Devaney, when she was a child, she was on track. She was well fed. There wasn't a mark on her body. She was perfect. Anything good that is said about a parent is immediately, or a family member of an elder, anything that's good is thrown in the toilet. No exculpatory evidence is allowed. It's a pattern of practice.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell a mother, a mother who is a DV victim and her children, I can tell her, you go into that court, you report abuse, this is what's going to happen. They are either going to accuse you of failure to protect the child from domestic violence, and the CPS will pick up your kid, or they're going to accuse you of parental alienation.
So I want to get something very clear from someone who is an expert in the system. What should parents do immediately if CPS, DCS, Department of Children's Services, or Department of Children and Families comes to their door?
You want to, I know people slam the door, they act out, they scream. That won't work because they'll go back to the court, they'll get a court order, and they'll come back with the police with guns, and they'll hold them on you, and they'll take your children. What you do is you take them to the window or to the screen door. You don't open the door. You let them see the children, and you document. The first thing you do is you turn on your camera. You record everything, every conversation, everything that happens. And you ask them, what are the allegations against me? And they won't be able to tell you because they don't know. They just check a box, abuse and neglect. They don't know. And so what you do is you ask them, what are the charges? And you want that on tape. You want to know specifically what is, and if they take your children, you want to know what is the exigency, because unless your child is in imminent danger of bodily harm or death in the time it would take to obtain a proper warrant, and that is clear and articulable evidence, or a clear and articulable articulated statement of why they're taking them. And then if they take your children, you've got them. You've got them in a civil, you've got a civil rights case. It'll take you a while, but
so speaking of civil rights, what can state legislators do right now, and what can members of Congress do right now?
well, what they can do is, okay. Do you know this book from
Yeah.
from Justice Gorsuch?
Yes. Overruled.
Okay. Yes, it's fantastic. It states what the problem is. There is a thing called the Chevron doctrine, and the Chevron doctrine allows bureaucrats.
Loper Bright overturned Chevron, though, correct?
Yes.
Right.
So we need lawyers, Chris. Thinking about your friend.
Christopher Burns. He's our director of
I
the
would
United Law
love him
Coalition.
to take some of these cases up to the Supreme Court. I think what we need to do is a mass habeas corpus for children who are in these situations in the system. And he's got some brilliant ideas that I love. So I want it. I don't know if I could. I'm a very bad fundraiser, but if I could, whatever I can do to help him put this together, and these three courts are they are able to interpret the statute. We have one good justice in Arizona. His name is Justice Bolick, and I've talked to him. I had got him on a radio show once, and he said, he has said constantly, he writes these scathing, what do you call them? Rebukes at the end of they're not rebukes. There's a word for it. I forgot. But he'll say, dissents. He'll say, I have talked to, or I have read 64 pages of your briefings. And this is the DCS lawyer, the Attorney General. Not one word about the constitutional rights that flow between parents and children. Not one word was devoted to the Lodestar case, Santosky versus Kramer, which says you can't take a child unless there is at least clear and convincing evidence of wrongdoing. There's never clear and convincing evidence. It's never proven. It's never proven to the parents that the parents have done anything. 90% of parents have done nothing wrong, and their children are in the system.
That's true. And, we wrote a book that explains all that.
Yes.
CPS pipeline, state-sanctioned kidnapping. If you haven't gotten a copy of this book, this is the link's in the description box if you're on YouTube or Rumble. And it's in the promos on Facebook as well. But
how's it doing?
It's doing well. Yeah, it's doing very well. In fact, the General Flynn's organization, America's Future, has asked us to come and present to about 60 plus of their local leaders in this field that are combating human trafficking through CPS and other areas. But, getting back to this topic here, Malinda, should there be a federal audit of CPS, DCF, their funding, the contractors, the psychotropic drugging, the foster placement, all of it,
that people don't know about,
billing?
There's so many things they don't know about that they're not aware of.
So what can the sheriffs do? What can the sheriffs of the county supervisors do, the state's attorneys general do, and grand juries? What can all of these roles play in combating this?
the Attorney General in Arizona, they play all these roles. They represent DCS. They prosecute parents. They have, whenever a parent does anything in the court, they have to disclose everything that they're doing to their prosecutor, who has this conflict of interest, because and Rachel's committee busted them. They want to separate the attorney generals from the children's cases and the parents' cases.
So as part of the additional oversight, getting back to court watching, which is what you've been doing for over 30 years, what can citizens do if they want to become a court watcher? Is there some special paperwork they have to fill out, or can they just show up with a pen and paper?
Pen and paper. We have open courts.
So does that add to the public pressure?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, I think, I always dreamed of my court watch group in California. And then when I moved here in Arizona, my friend Lori and I, Ford, conduct court watches all the time. I would like us to become some sort of a political PAC that we are not invited as stakeholders anywhere. And I'm going to ask Rachel and Walt Blackman and John Gillette. What they did is they started the process in their hearings about DCS. In the back of the room was a special counsel and a defense attorney. So when John Gillette was making his presentation about all the corruption, he warned that there were certain things he was getting signals from those people in the back, because there's criminality that's being investigated here. I've never seen a legislative committee do that. And Rachel and John Gillette got word from the Attorney General and from DCS that they know that children are being trafficked through these $64,000, $375 head in a bed group homes. Also, Katie Hobbs took $400,000 from one of these group homes, Sunshine, for her campaign. It was given to her over a period of time. And this Sunshine group home got a really fat contract.
That's right.
And they sell bed space too. And several children have died there. There was one boy whose father lost him, who kept him alive for 9 years and very healthy. He had stage 1 diabetes. He was in that home, and the grandmother said, "Let me take him. I can manage his diabetes." He died. Jacob died in 18 days in that group home.
Oh my God.
Because they said, "Oh, he didn't want to take his medication." That's how stupid and criminally negligent these people are. For $64,300, they should be able to protect children for that amount of money.
For all the parents who've ever had sick children and you had to give them the medicine, and the kids, "I don't want to take it. I'm not," and you really have to just, sometimes you have to grab them, put them on the floor and stick a medicine down their throat. It's just the way it goes. Been there, done that.
Right.
Been there, done that. It doesn't always taste good. It's, it doesn't always taste good, but sometimes you got to take your medicine. And the fact that someone who's getting that kind of money can't get a child to take medicine, or that's the excuse they gave, is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Or that they're hiring such stupid people.
They're hiring stupid people is what it boils down to. Malinda,
what
I want to end on this note. What gives you hope after 30 years of watching this system?
Rachel Keschel, John Gillette, Walt Blackman, and Lisa Fink, because they are not failing. They allowed people to come in. We told our stories. People cried, grandmothers, grandfathers. And they called Washington. I believe they called Washington. They got admissions, and they're not going to quit. John is going to leave the legislature, I believe, but he's going to continue his, I'd love you to meet him.
I was just going to say, I want to get his information after the show. We'll put us in contact. You can text, connect us. Definitely.
So I have hope now, and I've never had hope. I've only gotten kicked
That's
in the teeth.
amazing.
And I have hope now with I love this Ed Martin. How are you doing? You know?
Ed Martin is a great man. I know him. I've been in meetings with him. I've spoken to him, and he's really
You've educated him then. He knows what's going on.
Oh yeah. He knows what's going on. He may not have all the gritty details because he's dealing with so much going on. Remember, he was originally weaponization and then in J6, and now he's just the pardon guy, but he still got his fingers in a lot of pots. And so, we can always bring something to his attention. He's
Yes.
wonderful.
I want to get to the big guy, because I know that Melania is supporting children who have aged out of foster care. She's
doing everything.
You know darn well.
Yeah.
You know darn well she's listened to those stories.
Oh yeah, she definitely has, and she's doing what she can at her level. But really, the government is of we the people. We are the government, so it's really up to us to fix this system. And we've allowed some other bunch of basically demons in black robes to perform a seance over all of us and keep us in a spell. We're waking up from that spell. We're realizing that we are in control and we are the justice. And we have to enforce what is the law here. And we've allowed the law to become this legal conundrum, and we're sort of tangled up in it, but it doesn't have to be that way. Malinda Sherwyn, you are literally an angel. You
So
are an
are
angel.
you.
No, not even close. I just get to meet incredible people like you and help bring your stories out and help educate others through your experience. That's all I do. And it's an honor and a pleasure. But I've gotten to know you now over 10 years because of the Melissa Deagle story. And it's just grown and grown and grown. And I truly, truly consider you family. You're a wonderful, wonderful human being. God has blessed me with you, for sure.
Thank you. Let's get to the Supreme Court. Let's do some Chevron cases, okay?
That's exactly what we need to do.
That in all of these courts.
Okay. I'm very excited on that prospect, because while Chevron was overturned, the Loper-Bright decision has now taken away this agency bureaucracy ability to be judge, jury, and executioner on all things that they decide are the quote law, which isn't a law at all. Now that that's been overturned, we need to stop them in their tracks when they continue to operate under the Chevron doctrine, thinking they have immunity from all this, because they don't. And this is what we're doing at American Made Action. We're going after the judges that are acting like judge, jury, legislature, and kingmaker. We're going after them professionally and personally. We're going after the departments of children and families.
And all the stakeholders.
All the stakeholders. Anybody that's getting paid, whether you're an NGO, you're a guardian ad litem, you're law enforcement, whatever it is, if you're getting paid to rip a grandparent out of their house and call them incompetent, children away from the parents because they're incompetent, and you've had a hand in drugging them and creating this environment that resulted in what's happened. No, that doesn't fly anymore. And when you go with hearsay, this is why what we're doing with legislation is so critical, Malinda. We've written legislation that we've now, we're working with Don Gates's office here, the Florida state legislature, to raise the bar, that threshold. What is a real exigent circumstance? And then when you come with that circumstance to take that child, show me the evidence. I want the sheriff involved, the judge. Everybody has to be involved and see real hardcore evidence. Not just, oh, little Johnny showed up with a bruise at school today. No. That doesn't fly anymore.
Oh my God, my kids, they had bruises from head to toe.
Listen, I bruise myself regularly just walking in my house because I'm talking to somebody on the phone. I'm not looking where I'm going in my own bloody house. I mean, but people could say my husband's beating me. No, I'm bumping into walls because I'm too busy with what I'm doing and not. Yeah. So
I have a friend who had there was like a little tiny bruise like this on her grandson's arm, and that turned into a federal case on an 8-year-old kid, a little tiny bruise. There were there were 3 tiny little bruises, and it was just ridiculous. They took this kid. She didn't see him for 9 months. They told one of the things, oh, there's one terrible thing. They tell the children that your parents don't want to see you.
Yeah.
And they tell the parents the children don't want to see you.
Right.
And it
It's a lot.
really really messes with their brains.
I used
I
to
know
work
we
with
have to
somebody
go.
who used to do that stuff to me. They would tell me, "Oh, so and so doesn't want to be on a show with you," and they tell that other person, "So and so doesn't want you on their show." I mean, it was like it's crazy stuff. But anyway, Malinda, God bless you. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
everything you do.
darling.
I
Thank
love
you
you,
so
and I
much, Ann.
just mad respect. Your details are in the description box if people want to find you. Do you want to give an address for anywhere people can reach out to you if they need to find you on Substack or you're on
Find
X?
me fine. I'm on Substack. I'm updating the judges on my Substack because
Okay.
I want judges impeached, and then
Yep.
the ones that are running and the ones that are the ones that I voted against are now they're at the top of everything. They just
Yep.
it's like anyway. So
Here's a comment from
I'm
somebody on YouTube.
Substack.
You're on Substack and on X for Love of J is your
Yeah.
X account, by the way. Please follow her. This person just says, I worked in juvenile court for 12 years. The DVS attorney said children were better off. I think she meant DCF. Were better off with their parents over foster care. She left soon after that. So here's somebody who worked in the system that knows the children are better off with their parents than the system.
Oh, there's 6 times. I mean, it's 6 to 1. Murder,
Yeah.
rape, battery, starvation.
Yeah.
6 to 1 in foster care. It's going to happen to your kids versus the general public.
That's right.
Most parents don't do that.
No. Malinda Sherwyn, thank you as always. God bless you. Thank you for everything. And I'll let you know how it goes with Rachel on Thursday.
Thank you, dear. I'll be here. I'll be watching.
All righty.
Love you. Bye-bye, dear.
Okay. Wow, folks. I hope you take time to share this broadcast with any parent, grandparent, veteran, disabled, adult, elderly family member, or family currently fighting Child Protective Services or the Department of Children and Families, the family courts, the juvenile courts, the probate courts, or any guardianship abuse that you become aware of. Demand open courts, recorded hearings, and public access where possible. Demand that every ADA, like Malinda Sherwyn, someone like her, to be at your beck and call, to help you, to be your eyes and ears and support you when you're going through this massive post-traumatic stress disorder manufactured from the situation you find yourself in. So demand that every ADA accommodation request in juvenile or family, probate, and guardianship court receive a written ruling. Demand federal and state audits of child welfare funding, foster care contracts, adoption incentives, psychiatric drugging, court-appointed professionals, guardianship billing, and NGO involvement, and contact your state legislature and ask for hearings on CPS, DCF, due process violations, any sort of forced psychotropic medications, denial of kinship, placement, family court transparency, and guardianship abuse. And if you really want to be involved, it doesn't cost you anything except your time and stewardship of your fellow man. Become a court watcher. Bring sunlight into the courtroom. Honestly, this has been a heavy show today because what we discussed today, it isn't easy. It's painful. It's disturbing. But you know what? It's really necessary because behind every court file is a family. Behind every case number is a mother, a father, a child, a grandparent, a disabled adult, or an elderly person who may have walked into court believing that the system would protect them. And instead, they became processed like sandwich meats. They're just processed. They were labeled. Then they were medicated in many instances. They were clearly silenced based on some of the stories you heard today. They were isolated. And you know what this leads to? Bankruptcy. They have been separated from their family. They've been declared incompetent, declared noncompliant, declared unfit. And then the same system that helped create their crisis turned around and used that crisis as evidence against them. Folks, this isn't justice. This is the machine at work. And when that machine is tied to federal funding, Title IV-E funding coming straight out of the Social Security Department and Health and Human Services, when that's tied to federal funding, private contractors, NGOs, psychiatric billing, foster care placements, guardianship control, and adoption incentives, You, the American people, have every right to ask whether this is simply a broken system or a cartel operating under the color of law. The Geovanna Holton case is just one case, but it points to a much larger question. How many parents have been drugged into silence? How many children have been taken from safe family members? How many ADA requests have been ignored? How many grandparents have been pushed aside? How many vulnerable adults have been stripped of their rights? And how many people are making money every time a family is torn apart? So to every parent watching, document everything. Demand everything in writing. Know your rights. Do not walk into this system alone. And to every lawmaker watching, stop pretending you don't know. Open the hearings. Follow the money. Subpoena the records. Audit the contractors. Investigate the courts. And to every judge, attorney, social worker, evaluator, contractor, NGO, and government official involved in this system, the days of operating in darkness are coming to an end. Sunlight is here, and we at American Made Action are bringing the biggest Roman candle sunlight, spotlight, flashlight, whatever you want to call it, we're bringing it. I'm Ann Vandersteel. This is Steel News in concert with American Made Action. Stay vigilant, stay courageous, and never stop fighting for your family. Have a great afternoon, everybody.